good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to The Future is Female. This is the show where we find the extraordinary in every woman. I am so delighted to introduce two guests today on the show. The first next to me is Dr Jeyanny Vijayanathan. She is a soil scientist at the Forest Research Institute Malaysia. And on the far right, we have global health scientist Dr Lim Shiang Cheng. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on the show today. It's great to have two really accomplished women scientists on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about women in STEM and the importance of pursuing postgraduate studies, particularly in the sciences. But I want to learn more about the work that both of you do and the fields of research that you're both in. Let's begin with you, Jeyanny, with soil science. Explain to me and to the viewing public, what exactly does a soil scientist do?
We do a lot of things, Melisa, especially in FRIM. I work very closely on taking care of the soil health. We look at soil chemistry, the physical properties, and how these important attributes actually supports the above ground biomass. I did my studies in UPM, and then mainly it was in agriculture, but I got a job in FRIM. So more or less the work that I do can be applied in agriculture as in forestry. Okay,
it's fascinating because we so often focus on what happens above the ground, right? And there's this complexity that's happening underneath the ground that we don't pay attention to. But you pay attention to it for us. We'll talk a little bit more about that field. So tell us a little bit about your work and the field that you're in.
Okay, I think similarly, I also have my degree from University Putra, Malaysia as well. But what is that? My first degree is in degree in science in nutrition and community health. So I always work in the health sector. And in fact, I would say that I would never intended to go back to what you call that postgrad study. So it's go by like coincidence. And I think my work is also a little bit different compared to what you do, because I will consider your work is kind of like you are a pure scientist. So you are kind of like testing out new theory and then kind of like what you call that do the experiment, all these things. And I think my work, and as a global health expert, I would say that I'm more like an applied researcher or applied scientist, and my interest of work is like kind of like how to translate all the scientific finding into real life application, especially in the health sectors. So like I focus on conduct interdisciplinary research in the research topics such as sexual and reproductive health, non-communicable disease, aging, and also gender, and then to examine how all these factors interconnected with each other, and then how we can address all these issues.
Right. Well, I mean, it's equally as important because you need the bridge between science and application. How did you get interested in that and finding an area that fit you?
Okay, as I said, I was not intended to go back to my study after my first degree. And one of the things is that I started my work with the NGO, the Federation of Reproductive Health Association in Malaysia in 2005. And this NGO actually, they are the expert in the area of sexual and reproductive health. And I think when I started in 2005, at that point of time, we know that Malaysian, our health status has been improved significantly. We all living longer, and less mother dying because of like pregnancy related cause. And it shouldn't be an issue in Malaysia, right? When we talk about health in Malaysia. But I think there is still a lot of challenges in health, especially in the area of sexual and reproductive health. Like for example, if you look at like our issues such as teenage pregnancy, and then like the child marriage, baby dumping, HIV transmission, HIV infection through sexual transmission, gender inequalities, gender-based violence, all these things are still remain taboos and also the concern in Malaysia. And it made me start to think that if we know that, if we kind of like know that this is not a problem, why do we still having all these type of problems if we already doing so much on awareness program? Because we thought that, okay, we teach young people, we teach women ourselves, we should know how to protect ourselves for all these unintended pregnancies or HIV transmission. But there is still a problem. And so if let's say we thought that the awareness program works, why do we
Why do
still
you still have the problem?
Yeah, why
Right,
do we
yeah.
still have the problems? And then probably there are out there are some solution for us to know how to solve it, and I don't know, and that is why I think made me feel that I should go back to the study.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So you felt like, okay, you want to learn some more about how to deal with it, so you went back to pursue
Yeah.
a postgraduate degree. Jenny, when it comes to your field of work, I mean, I love that we have two women who are in vastly different fields, but have benefited from postgraduate studies with your work. And in soil science, what is the end goal? Like when you think about what you want to achieve, what is the goal of being a soil scientist? And I do have to congratulate you for being inducted into the Malaysian Book of Records recently, for being panel for the Food and Agriculture Organization. This is a task force on
Yes.
that UN body, right? So
Thank you.
congratulations on that achievement. What is the intended objective of the work?
In soil science, Melisa, everyone consider it as dirt, you know, nobody pays attention. But when you look deeper, what you actually see is that your food comes from soil. If your soil is unhealthy, you would not reap the benefits of the crops, which is, you know, nutritious and all that. So this is what I wanted to do, because in this era, we are looking at soil more closely because we are going towards sustainable management of soils. We don't consider soil as just a dirt, which actually we should not care of. It is something that we have to protect. We know that we are losing a lot of land due to other, you know, developments, land use and all that. So my intention in being in soil science is to actually create the awareness as well as teach the younger generation how you should actually conserve the soil, which is important for not only the planet, for the people, where we are also talking about food security at these current times, as well as how you could actually have a win-win situation where you can make profits out of it as well as conserving it. Because once you lose it, you will never get it back. Imagine in tropical forests, even for a 1 centimeter of soil to be developed, it takes more than 100 years.
1 centimeter of soil.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is something that many do not know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you start destroying what you have right now. And what are you going to do in more years to come?
How do you destroy that top layer of soil?
Uh,
How does soil become destroyed?
Okay, so whenever soil is being used for other land use, sometimes we do not look at the soil how much of nutrition it has, whether it's either by, you know, physical or chemical or even microbiological properties. We have new tools to actually look at the biodiversity of soils, where it actually helps to enhance the above ground biomass that it holds. So it is important that before we even start anything on that land, we actually evaluate whether it's useful for us to either conserve this area or to open it up for different land use.
Okay, so you have to actually identify what the land is, what the soil is first.
Yes.
I see. And that brought you to your PhD, which is a
Yes.
very interesting but very niche topic. Can you tell us a little bit about what you opted to study for your PhD and how you went about it?
Sure. So this was the time where nobody actually spoke about climate change so much, and this was like in early 2010. So I was trying to look for a subject in order to see how can actually develop to show the importance of soil. So when we look at climate change, there are actually 5 areas that we look at, 5 pools of carbon. So I wanted to look at soil. So what I did was that I went to my alma mater, UPM, and I went and spoke like, I want to do on this. And then they say, hey, that's a brilliant idea, because nobody speaks about carbon in soils. Everyone is talking about how it's important in producing food, but no one is talking about how much it can actually conserve carbon. And mine was a very niche topic, because I was looking at carbon stored in tropical montane forests.
Oh my
so
goodness.
that was like at high elevations, you see. So all this while we had the notion to think that, oh, we have this lowland forest, and it's very high in carbon. But when I went up there, I saw that the amount of stocks in carbon in montane forests was much more higher compared to the lowland forest.
Even if it's a higher elevation, you can still store carbon?
Yes, that is true, because you see what happens is that when in lowlands you have a higher temperature, and the decomposition happens much more faster compared in a montane forest where it's much more conserved because of the temperatures.
Wow, you found a really interesting topic to do your PhD. What year was this that you did your PhD?
I started my PhD in 2010. I'm quite thankful because I got the Hadiah Latihan Persekutuan from the government. It's a scholarship where it is given for officers who are still working in the institute. I started off in 2010. It wasn't an easy journey because I was the only one doing in that. I didn't have any seniors to guide me. And along the way, I also had two of my kids, my son and my daughter, and I successfully completed in 2015. So it was not an easy part, Melisa, because I had to juggle work as well as a newborn baby to take care, as well as being fully devoted to my postgraduate studies.
The decision to pursue postgraduate, is that an easy decision to make for the both of you? What was your experience, Jiyan Cheng?
I would say that for me, it's also not really an easy, decision, because I think, although as compared to you, I don't have kids, but the thing is that at the same time, I also kind of working as freelancer at that point of time as a freelance consultant. So in terms of financial security, that is also one of the biggest consideration as well. So I think for all of us, especially for women who decided to pursue for our postgraduate study, there has been a lot of things we need to take into consideration. Either it's your families, your career, your financial security. So yeah, it's not an easier, but I mean if we can compare, I would say that probably my journey, it will be slightly easier than you, because as I said, I don't need to deal with another new set of issues, which is you have a new member to come into your life.
Well, I think that the diversity of experiences is really quite enriching here, because then people can see there are challenges for every type of life, right?
Yeah.
And there are barriers regardless of family or children. We'll come back and talk a little bit about those barriers and what can be done to remove some of those barriers so that we can encourage more women, particularly women in STEM, to pursue postgraduate studies. We're going to take a quick break here on The Future is Female. We will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to The Future is Female. I'm Melisa Idris. My guest today, Dr Jeyanny Vijayanathan and Dr Lim Shiang Cheng. They're both women scientists, women in STEM, in different fields. One is in soil science, one is in global health. And we're talking a little bit today about what it's like to pursue postgraduate studies as a woman in science. Now, both of you alluded to challenges and the difficulty in making that decision. Paint a picture for me, particularly for many women who are in science, who are women in STEM, and they're thinking about pursuing the next level of education. It always happens at a certain level in your career, at a certain point in your life. So paint a picture of the context, of the considerations which can turn out to be visible or invisible barriers, Jenny.
For me, Melisa, I think it's very important for a woman to have a very compatible surrounding environment. When I say that, me being an officer in FRIM, you must have a very understanding employer who actually encourages you to do your postgraduate, because for us, when we do our postgraduate studies, when we already have that success, we can actually contribute better to the institute by attaining whatever KPIs such as consultations, network, international fundings. Besides that, you must have an understanding family. It has to be a good spouse, your children, your parents-in-law, because there are times that you need to leave your family and go for classes. It is very important for them to back you up, to give you that moral support in order for you to do that. And thirdly, I believe that it also the perseverance that the woman should have.
Yeah, because PhD is not easy.
Yes, it's
not
a long
easy.
journey. They have to keep on telling themselves that I'm in it, I must finish it, and I must do it with flying colors. They must have that, inner strength and confidence to complete it. Only then they would be able to break that barriers and do much more better for themselves, because whenever they have that in their hands, they are not only enriching themselves, they are enriching those around them as well, their institute, their family. They are also contributing for nation building actually.
Did you also find the journey, the process of the PhD, was perseverance a big thing for you, that you had to keep going and it was a very, very long road to reach the end?
I would say that it's a very long road, but at the same time, it probably is a very lonely journey as well.
A lonely journey.
Yeah, it's
they
a
don't
lonely.
tell you that about your PhD, right?
Yeah, because sometimes as Dr. Jeyanny said, we are the one who work on our topics, and then sometimes, if we are lucky, we do have mentors to guide us, or we do have seniors to guide us, and we can share across some of the experience. But at the same time, a lot of times, you really depends on your own efforts, and then to kind of if as women, a lot of times we are the one who really think that we are not good enough, and we want to go for it further and then make it better. So we are the one actually being too harsh to ourselves, and to say that okay, we want to do better, and this become sometimes it's a very, very long journey. And I think sometimes your family members or even my mentor will say that, oh, Shiang Cheng, don't be too harsh to yourself. And I used to say, I used to don't understand why people always say that don't be too harsh to myself. And I said that, oh, okay, I thought I'm just meeting the requirements and I'm just meeting the KPI, and I just want to contribute to the field of my study. But at the same time, right now, I will say that if I have a chance, I will tell myself also, be kind to yourself, and you are doing good, and you are doing good enough for what you are doing right now. Yeah.
I wonder whether there is a gender-specific dimension to this. When we talk about the challenges, right? So I always practice this thing where I wouldn't ask a woman a question that I wouldn't ask a man. And then I think to myself, would I ask a man if he would face barriers or challenges in pursuing a postgraduate studies? And I acknowledge that actually there is a difference there, that he might not face the same pressures a woman might be facing at that point in her life and her career.
Yeah.
How do we address that? Because I think it's so crucial that we encourage more women to look past the difficulties and see the possibility. Why is it important for, say, someone in your field to have a postgraduate degree, a postgraduate qualification? Jenny?
Okay, for me, if you ask me, Melisa, you see, a postgraduate study is actually an option whether you want to, do it or not. But at the same time, in soil science, it is a domain where you only see men most of the time.
Really?
Many years
Okay.
ago, because of the nature of the work, you need the strength, you need to go into rough terrains to collect soil samples.
Because you're out there, right? You're out in the field.
There. Of course, there are some who are also lab-based, but my work, involves myself to be with my staffs who are men, and to go and collect samples. So it was like a taboo once upon a time to see women soil scientists. But we are breaking barriers now.
Excellent.
Because we see that now men are also very progressive and supportive of the success of the women in soil science. And it's also important to inspire other women, I think, because you shouldn't just put yourself in one safe comfort zone and say that this is what I'm going to do. You have to actually expand and take that risk in order to prove yourself better. I think women are very versatile and they're also very resilient. You know, you can throw us anywhere and we can adapt ourselves very well. So, and we can multitask as well.
Right.
So, all this is some of the traits which have been inbuilt in yourself, and explore yourself much more further and try to see how you can actually make it better for yourself and as well as those around you.
What about you?
Yeah, I think same thing in the healthcare industry. Although, I mean, right now in the healthcare sector, a lot of times we will say that, hey, you are seeing more and more healthcare professionals who are women. You have seen women doctors, and if you're talking about like women who are involved in the nursing fields, I would say that in the statistics, like 90% they are women. So instead of like men, you hardly see a man. I mean, like a man who be a nurse
In the care
yes,
industry,
in the
right?
care
Yes.
industry. But at the same time, I would still say that men is still very, very dominated in the healthcare industry, especially in the leadership level. And it's a very, very, I would say that male-dominated thing. And a lot of times, I just give you an example. Like for example, maybe if you're talking about 10 or 15 years ago, a lot of our medical product, the clinical trial for the medical product, usually is designed by men for all human.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
for all
right.
human body, without taking
but
in.
using the male ideal, right?
yes,
Not,
yes.
not for
A
taking
female.
account
The female
different-
body
yeah,
will be slightly
exactly.
different. And that is why we need to bring in like more female scientists, and we need to involve more women in this field with diverse backgrounds, so to understand women's health better, or to understand in general the human's health better. I just give you another example. I mean, like imagine if one day we can have more women come in in this field and have more women scientists. Probably the choice of contraception we have right now is not only targeting women.
Yes, I've heard about the male contraceptive pill as well.
Yeah, because right now most of the contraceptive option we have is mostly targeting for women.
That's
What
right.
contraceptive option we have for men? Only condom,
Well,
right?
we have to
yeah.
reverse the decades of having it being male-centric and
Yes.
you know, think about how we can have more diversity in these fields. One of the things you said struck me, which was there are a lot of men in leadership positions, particularly in health, in other fields as well. How does a postgraduate degree help propel a woman to maybe break some of that glass ceiling, maybe push past middle management? Has a PhD helped your career, Jenny?
Oh, most definitely, Melisa. Because from nobody I became a somebody, I guess. Because when you do your PhD, people start looking for you to know that you are the expert in that field, and they want to do, you know, they may have some projects which they want to do their best in managing it, and so this is where that we could play a part in consultation. So when you were saying about the leadership in the middle management, one of the things that actually makes me remember is that sometimes women in the Asian context, you know, we are all bogged down by some cultural, you know, issues whereby we always think that we should be behind men, or
differ,
you know,
right?
yeah, we shouldn't be at par. So this is where that we need more flexibility to actually show that women can also do it, and not necessarily outshine, but actually bring in more valuable, critical solutions to whatever troubleshootings that we are doing.
Okay, so with that, having said that, I want to ask both of you in the couple of minutes that we have left, if there are women tonight watching who may have considered a PhD degree, pursuing a postgraduate study in the periphery of their mind, what advice would you give them, having to take into account the challenges, the barriers, but also the potential of getting that PhD degree? Jenny, you go first.
Okay, what advice that I have for all the women who are pursuing their postgraduate degree is that believe in yourself, don't fearful, get a good mentor for you to actually look up to, as well as to guide you wherever you are, because there will be up and downs when you're doing your postgraduate. I also have advice to all the parents who are, who have daughters, do not impede your child who wants to do their degree in STEM, because it is very important. Because when they do the postgraduate studies in STEM, they actually amalgamate and unite to be a force to be reckoned with, where they can actually provide to the surroundings that they are in. It's very important to also choose scholarships which actually assist you. Like example, like the UK British High Scholarship, it actually gives some type of supports for women who are bringing their children to the UK to do their postgraduate studies. And if it's locally, I would really hope that these types of scholarships are also available, because being a woman, you run so many roles as well as a mother and a wife. So it is important that you have that certain part secured for them, so they have that peace of mind in order to complete their postgraduate studies.
Yeah, you mentioned, Shiang Cheng, that financial security was also a key consideration.
Yes.
What would you advise to young women in STEM who are thinking about pursuing postgrads?
I would say that being a researcher or scientist is very hard, and being a female researcher is even more challenging. And I mean, like, we and the society, we always have more expectation to ourselves as a women, as to our work, and we always think that we are not good enough to doing that work, whether with our family, we are not giving the time to our children enough, or whether in the relationship, and we always want to give more. So what I would really like to say to all my peers or girls or women out there, never let anyone to tell you how a girl's or a woman's life should be.
Right.
Yeah, and or you are not doing enough, because just go and follow your heart, your passion, the fire in your belly, and just be kind to yourself. And our assistant actually is already the greatest things in the world. We don't need to and deserve for all the love. We don't need to have anyone to tell us we are not good enough. We just need to keep believing that, and then to pursue what we really passionate for. Yeah,
I love that you said should, because that word should is such a barrier sometimes. What we think we should do can hold us back a lot of times. Thank you both for being on the show. It's been lovely to chat to both of you, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Melisa.
That was my conversation, and that wraps up this episode of The Future is Female. I will be back with you same time next week. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.